and then a bunch of others, went this morning to kind of get it out of the way. Beyond that, it's just all a guess.
What were you saying about a Grant Park effect? Is that what you called it?
I don't think I said anything about a Grant Park effect. I think somebody else said that. Well, I think the theory as it goes, and it's come from a number of people too, is simply that if there are lots of people, remember, this town is filled with a lot of Obama supporters, clearly. And so if many of those people voted early and then rushed to get downtown for the big rally, that could be an effect. But I don't think any of us know until we see what the final results are. It's still going to be a dramatically exciting turnout. It's just probably going to be a little less than we thought.
Will it be a record number of voters, even though the turnout is not a record? I mean, you're not even 80%, the number of voters?
I can't tell you that exactly because we do have a record number of voters registered. But I couldn't tell you that. It's too early to tell you that.
How did the election go, all in all?
I would say very good. In other words, our definition of an election, obviously the most important thing is the accuracy, which we will find out later, but I have no doubts that it will be accurate. The other things is, did people get to the polling places? Did they get to vote? Did they feel pretty good about it? And from everything I could see, it went very well. We had very few equipment problems. The challenges for us with our 2,300 precincts, we had some judges that didn't show up, and so we had a pool of judges, and thank God for all the students, because many of the students filled in where there were the holes. And outside of that, there was sometimes maybe a line because some of the judges were not as efficient as they could be, but overall, it was just good. I mean, people got to vote. They had their questions answered. I think they felt comfortable about the results. If there was any big complaint from most voters, it's our ballot's too darn long, which it is. And if I've tried and I will continue to try to get the retention judges off the ballot.
How long is it going to take to count these votes compared to prior elections?
Well, ever since we have the ability to consolidate results and transmit from the precincts, it's all pretty fast. So the point is very soon you'll see, as soon as the last voter is voted, whether it's 7:20 or 8 o'clock, depending on the lines, then all the judges have to do is they start getting stuff ready that they will consolidate, which is a very simple process. The card activator, all you do is you take the cartridge from the paper ballots, you put it in the card activator, basically zap, okay, instantly counted. Then you take, let's say your precinct has 2 touchscreens. They each have the little UV sticks. You put each of them in to the card activator, zap, zap, instantly put together, which is what people want here in Cook County. They want to see it all together. And then all a judge does is they lift up the antenna on the card activator, and we can electronically transmit those results just like that. So very soon, if the judges finish their work, and they do have to print out a tape for people at polling places, then they will transmit. Now that's, of course, unofficial results. And let's say there was a precinct, who knows, it was an old church, and that they put the antenna up, they can't transmit. Well, all of those important election materials, the paper ballots, the cartridges, they go into these special bags. A Republican and Democratic judge bring those to the 19 receiving stations. They're all checked in because one of the most important things for us is don't leave any cartridges behind. And there's usually a few judges that do, by mistake. And so they check it all in, and if a precinct couldn't transmit, they will do that from the receiving station. They have all the equipment, the power to do that. So even if that was to happen in a few precincts, that would lose maybe about an hour the time it takes them to get from the polling place to the receiving station. So what I'm telling you is that you will have most of your precincts, the lines done, clearly by 8 o'clock. So starting fairly soon, or by 8:15, you'll see lots of these transmissions start pouring in. And if I also explain something else to you, is that we can upload all the early votes and the absentees at 7 o'clock. But the way it works here is, like, let's say we've got Bremen Township Precinct 1. We might have 100 early votes already cast in Bremen 1, but they won't connect until Precinct 1 sends in its results. So we're not going to give you just early votes for Precinct 1. We're going to give you it consolidated together, okay? So there's votes sitting there that you're not seeing because we have to wait for Precinct 1 to come in.
Do you expect a lot of provisional ballots to have been used in this election?
I would expect, suspect a significant number of provisional ballots. Hopefully, when we get the provisional ballots, you really don't want to see a large percentage of those counted, actually, because if they're counted, it usually means that someone couldn't find someone in the system. But with a significant turnout and with so many people registering late, there may be problems. For example, we got over 7,000 cards, maybe 10,000 cards, well after the close of registration. And so you've got people entering all that data kind of way after the first application books go out to the polls. So you can have a situation where you're the judge there, you've got your application book, but you're not paying attention to the surplus applications that came in later that go sent to the judges. And so if you're missing that, I'm looking for your name, and I only look on the major application book. I may make you vote provisional when you shouldn't have to. So there will be, I do think provisionals are a really good thing in this sense, that in the past, if there was a mistake made and that voter couldn't be found, they were sent home, didn't get to vote. Now we get to take their ballot, and if we find after the election day but before the final results are in, if that voter in fact was duly registered, we count the vote, and if not, if we don't. So in that sense, there's been several thousand people over the last few years that have been able to vote who otherwise wouldn't, and so that's a good thing. It's more work for us. Everything around here is more work for us, but if the result is more people get to vote and the votes are more accurate, then that's okay with me.
Hey Dave, I walked in on this a little bit late. What is your latest vote estimate, your voter estimate?
Well, remember, these are all guesses, but we said, I think a couple of weeks ago, because of the surge in early voting, we said we thought we'd get an 80% turnout. And I'm telling people now, because I saw much less of a surge this afternoon and tonight. So I think we're still going to have a big turnout, but my guess is we won't make that 80%. But it's only a guess.
It's still very, very healthy.
Very, very healthy. And remember, Illinois is not a swing state. And everybody knows that Obama is going to win Illinois. And so that could, if Illinois is a swing state, I think you'd see dramatically higher turnout.
But you are seeing some very high turnouts where there are contested elections in the suburbs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, I see, at least my analysis is two major factors. You see the Obama factor because you see an extraordinary number of African Americans voting. Okay. You see perhaps up north where we have that highly contested congressional race in the 10th district, Kirk versus Seals. There we saw that today. We saw much more attention in the Wheeling, Northfield area. So those are two examples, I think, where the candidate's driving the turnout.